We're doing another Live as I Drive over here at the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I'm your host, Richard Burns. Welcome back, y'alls. We're in the state of Maine, and we're still within that range where you got to be careful with moose crossings. Y'all. Moose crossings. That might be an odd thing for most people in many states or most of the 48 states. But it's actually a serious thing up here in Maine. Really quite serious. I remember the first time I spent the night up in Presque Isle, Maine. That's pretty far north, very close to the Canadian border. Maybe a couple of miles away from the Canadian border. And I had to park the truck on the grounds of a hotel because the type of trucks that we were using didn't accommodate you with a bed. And by law, you can't take your 10 hours on a truck with no bed. What's known as a day cab? Yeah. You're not supposed to take your 10 hours inside that truck. So I'm parked at the parking lot of the hotel, checked in, everything is beautiful. Still early enough, so I want to check out the menu, maybe see where other restaurants are at, see what other kind of entertainment there is available. All right. So the hotel provides you with this 3-page, 4-page guide as to what's going on around the town. And then they dedicated 1 page to the dangers of encountering moose on the highway. And they highlight the fact that most of the deaths that occur on the highway, I don't remember if it was in that area of Maine or in Maine as a whole, is due to drivers impacting moose. Many people throughout the country understand the complications associated with impacting deer. That happens all over the place throughout the country. But moose, yeah, that's a different animal. Literally. That's a different animal. The thing with moose are that their bodies sit up high. They have long legs. Their bodies sit up high. And what happens is when you impact a moose and you're in a car, it's more than likely you're hitting their legs. But then they topple over and land on top of the car. And that's when things get ugly, because moose are very heavy animals. And they do an incredible amount of damage. One afternoon when I was traveling south on 95 in Maine, And try to imagine or remember if you've ever seen how much blood a deer loses after they've been hit. I mean, a solid hit, like hit by a truck. Well, I didn't see what got hit, but I imagine it was a moose because the amount of blood that was on the highway was incredible. There's no way that a deer could have left that much blood on the highway. It was a lot of blood. It was insane. It was crazy. By the way, I'm out of the danger zone now on this road. The speed that you'll be traveling on the road that I'm on now, it's not gonna be so fast that your brain is not gonna register right away if something as large as a moose crosses the road, that your response time won't be fast enough so that you don't brake. But on the highway, speed limit on that highway that I was on is 70 miles an hour. 70 miles an hour. So if a moose starts running across that highway out of nowhere, I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of, well, I don't know where I started actually recording, but in most of the highway on 95 in Maine, there's a high density of trees. It's forest. And if it's late enough so that there isn't enough sun, a moose can dart out, and they run pretty fast. They dart out, and your response time may not be fast enough. It may not be. And that could be the end. Maine, y'alls. I'm north of Portland, Maine. Somebody like myself who was raised out on the East Coast, when I hear Portland, I ask myself if they're referring to Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon. Portland, Maine is well known out here on the East Coast. Although, yeah, everybody knows of Portland, Oregon, but for us here on the East Coast, Northeast especially, Portland, Maine is a location that Northeasterners are quite familiar with. And here's an interesting bit of trivia. Maine was not one of the 13 colonies. Maine used to belong to Massachusetts back then. Ain't that interesting? Now, this part of Maine, I know you see snow all over the place, but this part of Maine doesn't get, and just so that you understand, I'm near the coast. So I'm near the Atlantic coast right now. And this part of Maine, even though it's far enough north to be as cold as places like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the likes, it isn't. And that's because of our proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean makes it so that the temperature along the coastline is not that cold. But if you get into the interior now, yeah, they get real cold. A lot colder than the area of Maine that's near the coast. Terrier now. Hey, DSW, what's going on, brother? Listen, I'm sorry, I wasn't. Real cold. I didn't have my I didn't have the screen up, so I couldn't see who was in and who wasn't. Sorry about that. I got to be careful on this rotary. A lot of these rotaries aren't well made for trucks. Yeah, DS. Really sorry that I didn't greet you. And thank you for that. Thank you for letting everybody know to subscribe. I appreciate that. I'm headed down to Massachusetts. I'm headed down to Peabody, although they pronounce it Peabody down there. Not sure what the deal is with that pronunciation, but this is more like a scenic route that my GPS is taking me through. Oh, you did? I heard my phone send a, yeah, I'm distracted, I'm sorry. Send a notification. Here we go, some more rotaries. I guess I'll take this here. This here, right? Stone Street. Okay, that's where I'm going. I'm going to Stone Street. So let's go over here. Oh, that's a high school right in front. That's an interesting looking high school. Hannaford Supermarkets. Those are big up here in Maine. Can't see it. This is one of those Hannafords I used to deliver to when I was working for another company. Yes, D. I'm gonna make it my business to promote the channel more. I wanted to talk about therapy. Specifically, family therapy. Oh, I'm picking up down there, D. Picking up in. Oh, look at this. Look at this clown. Wow. Yeah, that created a problem. I could have gone through. Okay, so yeah, you this looks like Waterbury. Waterbury has a lot of hills. Very inconvenient when you're traveling through Waterbury after some snow, and it's even worse when there's a lot of snow melt. Because there's so many hills in Waterbury, that snow melts during the day and at night it freezes, and it's so slippery, it's crazy. Yeah, I had bad experiences with the family therapy thing. Bad. I'll tell you what one therapist said. Therapist comes out and says, well, he asked me if I remember what it was like when I first started dating my spouse. And I said, yeah, I remember. And he went on asking, you know, what kind of things we did. Did we go out? Did we spend a lot of time together? This, that, and the third. So yeah, we did all that. And then he's asking, why can't we do this now? Which he already knows the family dynamic. He knows about the fact that we have children. And when he asked me that question, that like set off a red flag for me. Why can't we do what we used to do before? I just read what you wrote, D. I just read what you wrote. Now, when I read stuff, I got to do it real quick, but I'll respond to that in a second. I'm going to finish what I was talking about. So when the therapist asked that question, it sent off like red flags. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the question. I didn't understand the reason for asking that question. To me, that question, I don't know. Just why? How about because we have an obligation called a child? How about that? And not only that, are you considering the financial obligations in searching? Okay, do you know if we have family that we can leave our child with? Didn't bother. You didn't ask that first. Now, there should have been a sequence in his line of questioning. In my opinion, there should have been a sequence. Do we have the financial means to get a babysitter? Do we with the frequency that we need to get a babysitter for us to behave the way we did when we first met? To carry on the way we did when we first met? Do we have family members that we can ask to? Will our family members be inclined to do that for a low cost or maybe even for free? Do we even trust our family members to leave our children with or our child with? For me, I don't like leaving my children with anybody. I don't like it. I do trust to some degree. Well, I trust my mother-in-law, but I don't trust my sister-in-law as much as my mother. I trust enough. I'm one of those two. because I know they won't allow any physical abuse to take place, especially not my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law she'll roll up her sleeves quick, fast, and in a hurry. But we're talking about a different relationship. We're not talking about the relationship I have now. We're talking about a previous relationship. So in my previous relationship, I had nobody. I didn't trust anybody. I wouldn't even leave them with my own siblings. So for this therapist to ask that question, and this person, they're not a 25-year-old fresh out of college therapist. No, this person looked like they were between 45 and 55 years of age. So my expectation is that this person should have known a little more about life than, and we're trying to fix this relationship. Okay, we're trying to fix this relationship. We went the professional route because my ex-spouse invited me to make it a couples thing. Okay, cool. I don't have a problem with that. No problem whatsoever there. I thought it would be better. Because there was too much interference allowed from my spouse, from all her friends or so-called friends. Too much interference. It was an insane amount of interference on behalf of her friends. And their contribution was terrible. Her friends were from broken families. Oh, this is confusing. Yeah. Broken families, unstable financially, absolutely terrible. But their opinion mattered to the point where it was destructive. It was destructive. Oh, I delivered in this town too. Yeah, their contribution was destructive. It was not helpful at all. They were encouraging her to do things that would stray us completely from a path where we could be far better off financially. Far better. And adding to that, Uh, my ex was absolutely, or an absolute nightmare when it came to money. An absolute nightmare. If she made $500, she would spend $1,000, and then complain because I wouldn't participate in that behavior. At that time, yeah, you understand, D. You understand what I'm talking about. At that time, we were coming out of the ghetto. A couple of years since we were out of the ghetto, out of the Bronx. Much better environment, a much safer environment, education, and something that, or a base that we can catapult from into a much better financial future. Future. Your baby up. Much better financial future. I'm not trying to remain, or I'm not trying to continue on a path where I hold on to that ghetto mindset. I adopted things that I needed to adopt, things that my parents were totally against, things that my siblings were never raised in. But I had to be raised in that environment, and I had to adopt certain things for survival. There are things that you have to adopt in order for you to survive in the hood. It's just, it is what it is. So here we are in a place where we no longer have to conduct ourselves that way. Not inside the house, not outside the house. In fact, it's more beneficial for you to take all that ghetto mentality, fold it up like it's an 8.5 by 11, fold it up, and put that thing away. Put that in your pocket for later, for some other time. Because the type of relationships that you want to establish to where we moved are the type of relationships that will open doors for you for a better future. Okay, so now we're in a new environment, a better environment for growth, socially, financially, a better environment. But my spouse she's stuck. She's stuck. Hanging out with some undercover ratchet individuals. They're undercover ratchet. On the surface, they like to give one impression, but the reality is that they are not. They are ratchet. So I'm in therapy. This guy has a degree. What did he make the sacrifice to get a degree for? Did he get a degree so that he can make the type of money where he'll be confined to a ghetto environment? I don't think so. I don't think that's what he went to college for and got a degree and got into a profession. I don't think that's why he did that. But he's going down a path in his approach as therapy that'll break us up. You're asking things that will lead to a breakup. And that's another thing. You're going to a therapist, the therapist knows you're married, but they say that because they're your therapist, their primary concern is your happiness. Even if it means your eventual breakup, it's your happiness that matters. That's it. Well, they shouldn't be in family therapy. I understand if you go to a therapist, hey, from the SIP, I understand if you're going to family therapy and you're in a relationship that's abusive, that your spouse is undermining everybody's financial situation in the home, doing stupid stuff, unnecessary stuff, deliberate stuff. Causing harm. Okay, I can understand where the therapist would kick in and say, listen, the situation that you find yourself in right now, I want to make sure that you're aware of what's going on. I want to get into your head and see what it is. That's an interesting question, D, because after we separated, years after we separated, she admitted it. She admitted that yes, that is what he tried to do. He tried to hook up with her. Yeah, it's crazy. The type of behavior that I don't expect from a professional. Again, I can understand if they wanted to see whether or not they're perceiving things that are going on. I mean, if you show up with a missing tooth and a black eye, and you tell your therapist, oh yeah, it was him or it was her, but they didn't mean it. Oh, they didn't mean it. Okay, let's. And then you come back in the next therapy session with some new bruises, some new stuff going on. At that point, yeah, I can see where the therapist would say, well, I need to ask you some questions to figure something out, because you're going through what appears to be me, but you're trying to say it's okay. You're trying to say it's okay, and at the same time, you're coming here because of these acts. You did say that that's the reason why you're seeking therapy, right? Because this spouse of yours keeps doing stuff like this to you, and you don't like it, and you're scared. But then you come up with some rationale to allow for that. I can understand then when they may want to try to open your eyes and let you know that the best alternative might be a separation in that case. That I can understand. But if that's not the case, then what's up with this therapy? I can understand where the therapist might be locking in on how I respond to certain things that are said, or maybe thinking a little better before I say some of the things that I say. I can dig that. I can understand that. I can understand that all day, every day. If you're a family therapist, let's keep it family. We shouldn't be creating the idea that independence is important. Independence? You're a part of a family. What independence are you talking about? Independence? I'm not independent of my wife and my children. There are some things that I do independently, but overall, it's a family. Overall. So this focus on independence, I don't understand that. Like I said, yeah, there are some things that you can do independently, but still within the family. For example, maybe your spouse is into video games. All right, cool. Maybe your spouse is into video games. Are all the other things that families do still being done? Are we all sitting at the dinner table together, which I like to do? Are we still getting it done? Or, well, I want to be independent and I'd rather be in my room playing games than to sit at the dinner table with everybody else and engage with everybody else, find out how everybody's doing emotionally, how everybody's doing otherwise. Maybe there's a complication that somebody needs help with. That's the kind of stuff that you can address at the dinner table. And there are other family things. They don't come to my mind right now, but there are other family things. But I've heard this talk of people's independence when you're in a family. You guys are parents? What independence are you talking about? Again, yes, there are things that you can do independently, but within a family structure. So you're not independent per se, but a person that works, maybe they don't like their job 100%, tolerate what to continue working, provide for their family. Maybe they hold off on purchasing creature comforts because they're pursuing a much better financial future for the family. So they refrain from purchasing things for their own pleasure. Well, is that person being independent? Of course not. That's not acting independently. That's putting the well-being of the family up front. Some money, movie, an entertainment, some kind of entertainment, a theme park, maybe every now and then, so long as it doesn't deviate from your plan. Yeah, that's fine. But when you have a spouse that has friends that are pocket watching and convincing your spouse how the money should be spent on cruises and flights here, flights there, you might have it, but if you go on and do that, it'll derail you from fulfilling the financial future that you're trying to set up. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, D. See, you explain to your spouse, listen, this is the plan. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to put in the time, the energy. I'm going to go all out so that we can be in a financial place where we can take all those cruises and all those flights and all that vacation time that your friends are trying to encourage you to do, and not impact us financially, not one bit. But a sacrifice has to be made. Hey! Oh man, I can't read that. Double D! Double D! Yay! Yeah. You explain to your spouse it's going to be a sacrifice right now in the beginning, but 5 years, 10 years down the line, we'll be able to relax a little more. Little by little, we relax. We spend more time amongst each other. And when we do, it won't impact us financially anywhere near as much. We'll be just fine. They were lonely and miserable, and you know what? And you know how it goes. Misery needs company. So what do? They see your old lady stable, and they can't stand to see that. They need to destabilize what she's got. And then your lady spends time defending them, which is terrible. And you try to snap them out of it. And that was the third therapist I went to that did not work out at all. So I am not a fan of therapists. Not a fan. That was their third strike. Some say, well, you got to find the right one. Find the right one. Listen. This is your profession. This is your profession. You should know what the objective is, and you should have an idea as to what it is you need to do to make it happen. Why would a couple go to a family therapist if the objective, and again, excluding situations where there's abuse. Not talking about abusive relationships. Not talking about that. That's understandable. If there's abuse going on, that's 100% understandable. sorry, D. It's hard for me to read what you wrote because of the glare. Got too much glare going on. Are you kidding me or what? Yeah. You hear that phone? That's ridiculous. I didn't recognize the number, so that was more than likely a broker. These brokers now, they insist that if you want to get paid the full amount on the load, they want the dispatch number. And these drivers, these brokers, many of them are just inconsiderate. They will call you while you're supposed to be sleeping. Especially when you're doing refrigerator loads. There's a high probability that you'll be driving and sleeping during the day. Right now, my pickup appointment time is 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Peabody, Massachusetts. That's like right next to Boston. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to load me. They got to assign me a door. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to assign me a door. It could be in a minute. It could be in 3 hours. Let's say it takes an hour. Okay, I arrived for the 3 o'clock appointment on time. They're done with me by 4:30, and then I got to head out. I got to head west. And it don't matter what direction you go, whether it's north, south, east, or west. If you're coming out of the Boston area, you're going to be leaving the facility to get on a ramp and onto a parking lot, because that's what it's going to be, a parking lot. Traffic around Boston is a parking lot for miles. For miles. It could be 20, 30 miles, depending on the direction that you go, where you finally get some relief and you can travel at a high speed of 40 miles an hour. If you're headed south, it's worse. I'll be west, but I'll get more relief sooner than anybody headed south out of Boston. If you take 95 south from Boston, there might be maybe 2 areas that you might get relief. Between Boston and Richmond, Virginia, there might be 2 places where you get some relief. Everything outside of those 2 spots, you'll probably go forward faster if you put your vehicle in reverse. Yeah, think about that. Give that some thought. Give that some thought. You will move forward faster if you put your vehicle in reverse drive. That's how bad the traffic is between Boston and Richmond, Virginia. If you got to go down that path, man, you're going to struggle. And then, I've mentioned this many times, parking is a very serious issue. If you want to find parking, if I leave the facility for 30, I got to start looking for parking in 2 hours. 2 hours of driving. How far do I get in those 2 hours? Not far. Not if you're coming out of Boston. In 2 hours, if you leave other parts of, like, let's say you leave Iowa, a facility in Iowa, you can in Iowa you can travel. If you leave at 5 o'clock, 4:30, you can probably get a good 125 miles in. But leaving Boston at 4:30? What? Listen, you leave Boston at 4:30. 2 hours, you might make it 40 miles or 50 miles. 40 or 50 miles, that's it. Because the traffic is ridiculous. Leave Boston, go down I-95, traffic like a mug. You'll get some relief, maybe, in Connecticut, between New London and where 395 merges with 95. That's near Mystic, around that. No, that's further than Mystic. That's near, what town is that? I forget the name of the town. Might get some relief there. Then, once you get closer to Brantford and New Haven, forget it. Parking lot status. You'll be crawling till you get down to, if you're going to stay on 95, you're going to be crawling all the way down until you get to maybe exit 11 in New Jersey, on the New Jersey Turnpike. Maybe. That's a maybe. So you'll be crawling down till you'll be crawling into Larchmont, crawling into the Bronx, crawling through the Bronx. You'll be stopping for a few minutes, crawling, stopping through as you're getting closer to the George Washington Bridge. Even when you're on the George Washington Bridge, you're going to be crawling over that thing. You'll go down 95. The speed might pick up for a little while. Might pick up to 45, 50. But you're going to slow down to 30. Once you get past the toll, once you get past the Lombardi rest area, you're going to start crawling all over again. You'll have traffic going toward the Lincoln Tunnel, to the Newark Airport, to Newark, all that stuff. Then you might get some relief. Do 50 as you see the planes take off and land out of Newark Airport. And it'll be like that for a while. It'll be like that for a while. So if you're an experienced driver, you know all this. If you're gonna hop on 80 going to Pennsylvania and your load weighs 42,000 pounds, you know how that's gonna impact your average speed. You know it. You as a seasoned driver, you're gonna know. Oh yeah, Greenwich, Connecticut, forget it. Once you get to exit 7, it's a wrap. That's another spot right there. It's a wrap. Exit 7, exit 9. Well, once you get to like exit 8 and stuff like that, exit 9 rather. I don't remember the 8. But exit 9, once you get past the rest area, southbound, I-95, boy, get ready. Because it's going to slow down to a crawl. You're even going to stop a few times. Once you clear Stanford, Cos Cob and all that area there, you're still going to be going slow. And there's going to be bottlenecking as you approach 287. And you have that little bit of road, maybe a quarter of a mile, where things speed up a little bit if you stay on 95. But then all that traffic merges into it from the people from 287 getting onto 95 South. And then it's back to the crawl. Yeah, exit 3. Forget about. Hey, forget about. Tony Macaroni, forget about. So, experienced drivers, they already know all this stuff. Broker? No. I don't know how often they circulate brokers in these brokerages. I don't know what brokers get paid. They get paid by the load. I don't know how long they stay and wind up having to get new brokers. But these brokers they don't have a clue. And they always want to hit you with the famous, but the other drivers get there without a problem. Listen. When you have enough experience, you know that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're clueless. Other laws? Legal? Those other? Believe. Yeah, 287. All that. because every day are we back on? Yeah, we're back on. Sorry for that disconnect, y'all. It's the area. It's the area. This company has not had one driver, not one, that has stolen a load from anybody. Not one. What are you stressing so hard about? You should be that your load made it to its destination. Thankful. Because there's some ornery stuff that goes on out here in the trucking industry. You got drivers that are providing brokers with information that they're not associated with, information that belongs to another carrier, but they're convincing enough to make it so that they can get a load with the broker's approval. They'll give them the load, and then they disappear with the whole load. And some of these loads are like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But this company has a proven record. And you're still gonna act like you really got to watch out for this, because this company's been in business for what, 25 years? 24 years or something like that. Hey, thank you, Sip. Yeah, I created this view. Don't let nobody tell you different. It's my creation. Right? Yeah, we're gonna hop back on 95. I think what happened with my GPS is that I set it for no tolls. So it took me through that, took me down through that scenic view. And this is a plus for me, the fact that I'm familiar with this area of the country, because I can get to where I need to go without depending 100% on the GPS. The GPS helps me track the estimated time of arrival in this particular case. That's what it does. Okay, so we're right along the edge of Portland, Maine. I almost called it Portland, Oregon. Oh, we still got that speed. Portland Airport. Portland Airport coming up, y'all. A short on some of this, or it's separate short. What that is? Oh, yep, another Hannaford. Yeah, those big maps. Every trucker should have one of those big maps, because your electronic equipment is not going to function. There are going to be some areas of the country where it's not going to function. I've had my GPS completely shut off, or not shut off, but recycle at the worst possible moment. At the worst possible moment. Luckily for me, it was a location that I've been to before, and I know how to get there. But if it was a new location in an area of the country that I don't frequent, man, look, I would have to pull over, if I could find a place to pull over. Because you could be on a regular road, not a highway, but a street, and there's no pull-off. You would have to stop and block a complete lane while your GPS is recycling. And this particular GPS, if the slightest thing is off about the address, you get nothing. Absolutely nothing. I've got two GPS. I got one on the phone and a big old, is that a Garmin? Yeah, I think it's a Garmin. Yep, big old Garmin, and one on the phone. The one on the phone is more reliable than my Garmin. There have been, right now, the Garmin doesn't recognize the address that I'm going to. It doesn't recognize it. But my phone does. My phone GPS. It's a truck GPS, by the way. It's not Google. That's another problem. Yeah, look at this guy on the right. Serious hurry. The airport. You can't see it because of the angle of the camera, but I was just looking at the runway. We're in Portland, y'all. Portland, Maine. Man, chunks of ice are coming off the truck. Sounding crazy. Dead River Company. Wow. What a name. Yep, Portland, Oregon, y'all. Portland, Oregon. See? Stuck in my head. Portland, Maine, y'all. Yeah, I've been out west a few times already. I've been to Portland, Oregon. But this is Portland, Maine, y'all. Portland, Maine. And away we go. Man, the wind is shoving me from side to side. Three hours of driving just to get to this pickup. Hop on a jet, huh? Peabody, Massachusetts. That place is tight. Got a lot of tight areas to go in and out of. I had footage of the mountains when I was traveling across Route 2. I was going from Vermont over to Maine on Route 2. So I crossed New Hampshire to Maine by Route 2. And I feel terrible that I can't find that footage because it was absolutely beautiful. Everything was snow covered. There was a storm, and man, going going through those turns and those ups and those downs and that mountains, and everything was snow covered. Everything. It was amazing. It was picturesque. It was beautiful. Man, my mic got hot for some reason. I don't know. Well, folks, I think I'm gonna finish this live right about here. I'll be back live as I drive some of the time, but for now,